Greetings, my fellow freedom loving sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's News Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy Mango, South Florida. And today's date is Thursday, February 13th, 2018. So let us begin. Oh, hey, thanks for tuning in, my friends. Yeah, a little bit of a minor head cold, but it's coming out real soon. It's coming out flushing. So thanks for your patience. Of course, I'm working class, and that's how it goes. Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone from Florida Carry on my Facebook page. I posted one of my past archives for the Florida Constitution ballot petition on a semi-automatic ban, null and void. So I got a lot of great hits on that. Hopefully, folks, listen, like it. If you like it, show it. Download, share it, please. You can do that. And it'll be greatly appreciated. I do have a Patreon account as well. Just look at my footnotes. If you want to donate money, if you can do it, awesome. If not, I understand. Because many of us have a tight budget. But one thing I know for sure, when you listen, that's what counts. So thanks for everyone for checking that show out and beyond. Woo, man, I know a lot of things are happening still. Areas of the world, good discussions with friends of mine, a lot of areas. And I always tell folks this: don't be ashamed for who you are. Of course, the mainstream garbage media, the brainwashers, manipulators, the propaganda ministers that they assume that they are, want us fighting amongst each other like peasants. Slave versus slave. Don't fall for it. Now we got technology. Utilize it. I know I repeat myself, but for those first-time listeners, to be exact. It's Bill of Rights Day. Starts Saturday. So when you do, go out there, talk about the Bill of Rights to everyone. Government keep out. I'm going to try to find a show, any latest information on it, because I know I talked about it on my past episodes. It's in my archives. You can look it up. But very good stuff. Remember, Bill of Rights means government keep out. Like the Florida Constitution, Declaration of Rights, government keep out. This is why the ones that try to use that ballot, adding Article 1, Section of the Florida Constitution, trying to use victimless crime referendum, third-class felony if you own a semi-automatic weapon, illegal, null and void. And it's funny because you got people there make more money than you and I believe they are smarter. That's why, to me, they're not more than pretentious chumps. Like that one group, ban assault weapons now. Congressman Ted Deutsch is involved. Yes, he is no Haim Solomon or Merrick Elderman. They were men, and they were proud Jews. He's not. Nothing more than a corrupt Gino, a Jew in name only. So I'm not being anti-Semitic. If any of you Deutsch worshippers get offended by this comment, because the truth really hurts. Not out of malice or hatred, but in love and in good faith. So, I'm going to be talking a few areas. It's interesting about the Clinton Foundation whistleblowers, and I'll be testifying. I thank Covert Politics for putting this out. I'm going to be addressing that. And, of course, Zero Hedge and WorldNet Daily, based on those articles Covert Politics took from, posted on their page, which is good. A lot of stuff is occurring, and when I hear people complain, they don't want to take action. Everyone a bunch of morons. There's no such thing as jury notification. You know what? You're the problem, not the solution. Remember the women that stood against the Crown after the Boston Tea Party and said, "Hey, we're not going to hide who we are." They took that chance. They stood for what was right. And even the 54 men that signed the Declaration of Independence did the same thing. I can say, in my view, they were inspired by those brave women. That's right. A lot of great women were pro-liberty. Women like from that time, they were pro-freedom. And I think that's fantastic. So all these things about white privilege, black privilege, blaming on this group, blaming that group, it's irrelevant, null and void. We all got to take responsibility for our actions, including myself. I made some errors too. But you know what? That's okay. Now, I do repent for my actions. But one thing I noticed, I trying to not trying to create too much damage. Like I said, I made my errors, and hopefully one day I'll meet with these one or two individuals, and we can have a little powwow, a little peaceful powwow. Because one thing I know, I'm not better than them, and vice versa. We all got great talents, awesome attributes. We all have our pros and cons, our good and bad. Remember that song, Ebony and Ivory, living together in perfect harmony. You know, even though it's a commercialized song, top 40 song, however, it has a great message. Let's have peace amongst each other. It's true. It's happening. All you gotta do is start talking to people as individuals, regardless of what they look like. If you're articulate, speak articulately. You don't talk like bobbleheads out there. That's irrelevant. We all have the opportunity to better ourselves, improve our lives, and bring harmony to our communities. Yes, there's always going to be battles, tyranny, and corruption, but doesn't mean there's nothing you can do about it. Spare me the moment. Remember, this tyrannical movement been going on by steps, a slow domino effect. We can blockade it one way or another via nullification. How come people not protesting like they do it in Paris? Nullification. Think about it. It can be done. So, I know I'm digressing a little bit, and I admit it. That's okay. You still hear my show, so thank you. All right, speaking of that, I want to be... Let's check this out. Came out today from covertgeopolitics.com or geopolitics.co. It says here, 3 Clinton Foundation whistleblowers have testified. Deep state, mainstream media silent. Why? Because they have an erection to get rid of Donald Trump. And they said, we impeach him. We're free. Yay! No, just saying, he can screw me over all he wants. Well, I still like him. That's the people they want. They want them, the ones they will bend over, the ones they like. That's called exceptionalism, right? Ha 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 ha. All right. This is what he has to say. The following allegations of sloppy accounting, potential tax fraud, and pay to play the Clinton Foundation will be under a congressional microscope this week after 3 whistleblowers have come forward and agreed to testify. One whom secretly submitted 6,000 pages of documents to the IRS and FBI in August of 2017, and all 3 of whom have submitted various documents to congressional investigators. Representative Mark Meadows, Republican from North Carolina, chairman of the House Freedom Caucus, told Fox News' Martha McCallum on Monday night that there are 3 whistleblowers who have spent the past 2 years investigating the Clinton Foundation and have explosive allegations, which they will share during Thursday's testimony on Capitol Hill, which is, I believe, it's today. Malcolm. Okay, with regard to the investigation, which doesn't get a lot of attention, into the Clinton Foundation, the DOJ designated John Huber to look into this. They have 6,000 pages of evidence that they've gone through. The foundation raised $2.5 billion, and they're looking into potential improprieties. What's next on the investigation? Meadows answered, well, I think for the American people, they want to bring some closure. Closure indeed, right? Just a few sound bites here or there. So we're going to be having it here this week, not only covering some of those 6,000 pages that you're talking about, but hearing directly from 3 whistleblowers that have actually spent the majority of the last 2 years investigating this. Some of the allegations they make are quite explosive. Martha, And as we just look at the contributions, not everybody's focused on the contributions for the Clinton Foundation and what's happening just in the last year. But if you look at it, it has very strong rise the minute when she was selected as Secretary of State. It dipped down when she was no longer there. And those rose again when she decided to run for president. So there are all kinds of allegations of pay to play and that kind of thing. It's funny. And when she decided to run for president again, I laughed so hard and said that's the biggest mistake she made. Okay, because there was so much ammunition against this scum queen, Hillary Clinton, a treasonous parasite that she is, a global agent, an angel mama to the Zionist New World Order and beyond. And people still fall for it. Meek and pathetic those individuals are, based on their poor judgment. I will proceed. As we know, in late November, the Clinton Foundation has seen donations plummeted approximately 90% over a 3-year period between 2014 and 2017. I wonder why. While Hillary Clinton was Obama's Secretary of State, however, the State Department authorized $151 billion in Pentagon broker deals to 16 countries that donated to the Clinton Foundation. So your tax dollars at work. A 145% increase in completed sales to those nations over the same time frame during the Bush administration, according to the IB Times. Meanwhile, John Solomon of The Hill reported on Tuesday that one whistleblower submitted 6,000 pages of evidence through a firm composed of former law enforcement investigators. MDA Analytics LLC has provided evidence of potential tax crimes as well as culture of noncompliance. That submission made with the IRS and eventually provided to the Justice Department in Washington and to the FBI in Little Rock, Arkansas, alleges there is probable cause to believe the Clinton Foundation broke federal tax law and possibly owes $1 million in tax penalties. That submission is supporting evidence will be focused on one focus of a GOP-led congressional hearing Thursday in the House. The foundation strongly denies any wrongdoing, but it acknowledged our internal legal reviews in 2008 and 2011 cited employee concerns, ranging from quid pro quo promises to donors to a proper commonwealing of a personal charity business, The Hill. In some instances, the Clinton Foundation appeared to have misled the IRS or lied when the filling out forms. For example, the foundation retracted a bid to conduct fundraising in Utah after they refused to correct a filling error which state officials will not allow. Salt Lake City don't play that game. They do have certain tax forms, tax bracket over there as well, my friends. When contacted for comments, the Clinton Foundation admitted their errors, but told Solomon they are acting to minor traffic violations. This is from Zero Hedge. Clinton Foundation whistleblowers have hundreds of pages of evidence. Allegations of pay-to-play and misappropriation of funds by the Clinton Foundation are documented in hundreds of pages of evidence provided by 3 witnesses, according to Representative Mark Meadows, Republican of North Carolina. Meadows, the chairman of the Oversight Subcommittee on Government Operations and lead panel's investigative hearing next week status on the Clinton Foundation case. Fox News reported, whenever it looked possible to play to pay by government officials, current or former, it demands answers, Meadows said, and anyone who uses public office to sell access for their own financial benefit must be held accountable. John Huber, who's been working with the Justice Department and FBI and the probe, will testify before the committee. Already, investigative journalist Peter Schreiser has pieced together evidence the Clintons exchanged political favors for donations and pushed favorable policies to receive donations. New York Times reported Trump told his White House counsel earlier this year that he wanted the DOJ to prosecute Clinton. In March, then Attorney General Jeff Sessions appointed Hoover to investigate the Clinton Foundation. Sessions decided, however, to reject a request by House Republicans to appoint as a special prosecutor to investigate Hillary Clinton regarding the sale of Uranium-1 to a Russian state-owned company, while Secretary of State was related to donations made to the Clinton Foundation. This is why Attorney General Jeff Sessions is a wuss. All right? But he wants to go after people on drugs and marijuana, all that, but not the Clinton Foundation. Why is that? Because he has his rear end saying owned by the Clintons. Property of Hillary Clinton. That's pretty sick. The taste of women really blows. As I continue on here, Meadows said in a Twitter message at time that Sessions' decision not to appoint a special counsel was disappointing. No, because he has something to hide. So the Obama DOJ can open a legally questionable investigation into the Trump campaign, allegedly based on a campaign volunteer mouthing off at a London bar. But this DOJ can't appoint a second special counsel after all the troubling documents we've seen. Disappointing, he wrote. Yeah, double standards. Schreiser, author of The Clinton Cash, The Untold Story of How and Why Foreign Governments and Businesses Helped Make Bill and Hillary Rich, was the first to report 9 foreign investors in the Uranium-1 deal gave $145 million to the Clinton Foundation. The New York Times confirmed in an April 2015 story, Uranium-1 chairman used his family foundation to make 4 donations totaling $2.35 million to the Clinton Foundation. The Times found that the Clintons, however, did not publicly disclose the contributions despite an agreement Hillary Clinton has struck with the Obama White House to publicly identify all donors. In addition, Bill Clinton received a $500,000 speaking fee from a Russian bank tied to the Kremlin in 2010, when Hillary Clinton opposed sanctions on Moscow. She reversed her position the following year. This is from the WorldNet Daily, by the way. Can we say hypocrisy at its core? Double standards? Yes, even the little Keebler boy, Jeff Sessions. I will pull down my pants and be on my knees to get respect. That's right. This is why I never endorsed Sessions as Attorney General, because he sucked as a senator from Alabama. Well, there's one thing you have to see, my friends. They love dishing it out, but hate receiving. And all the Russian connections is actually the fruits of their labor, based on these articles. I never bought the Russian collusion. It was nothing more than a complete fairy tale. Political science fiction at its finest. And you still folks out there do buy the story. like saying, yeah, 3 buildings came down because by 2 airplanes. That makes a lot of sense. Please, don't fall for the hoopla. I'll tell you one thing. It's going to be an interesting time of 2019. And, of course, the year of the dog isn't finished yet. I think it's around late January the new Chinese New Year will start, according to the Chinese astrology. That's why I never support the Clintons. I don't support the established candidates by any means. I've been pretty consistent at this. And everyone needs to learn this and exercise it. Like I said before, the more you know, the more you implement, the less you fear. We all have that, but we can minimize it. So you know what? Let justice fall. Let justice be done, or the heavens will fall. All right. I'll be right back, so stay tuned. Cool. All right. So, next story is very interesting here. Came from Personal Liberty. Came out today by Bob Livingston. Discriminating non-discrimination policies. It says here, whenever government establishes special rights or privileges for a perceived aggrieved class, also called a minority class, it does so at the expense of the rights of others. It invariably leads to law, logic, and reason being tied to undecipherable knots, contributes to the power and collectivism of government, and is anathema to human liberty. Benjamin Franklin warned about this in his emblematic Representations, published in 1774. He wrote, "History affords us many instances of the ruins of states by the prosecution of measures ill suited to the temper and genius of their people. The ordaining of laws in favor of one part of the nation to prejudice and oppression of another is certainly the most erroneous and mistaken policy. An equal of dispensation of protection, rights, privileges, and advantages. This is what every part is entitled to and ought to be enjoyed. These measures never fail to create great and violent jealousies and animosities between the people favored and the people oppressed, whence a total separation of affections, interests, political obligations, and all manner of connections, by which of the whole state is weakened." End that quote. Interesting indeed, my friends. You see the divisions going on right now in our country? They're trying to brainwash every single one of us? Absolutely. Very good example. And people talk about the founding fathers are a bunch of rich white people that were racist. They have foresight. What do you have? To ones who have those assumed intelligence. It also leads to absurdities, doublethink, and the death of common sense. And we see this with growing frequency in any discussion over transgender rights. That's why I support rights of individuals, my friends, not a particular group. A Virginia high school teacher was recently fired for refusing to use male pronouns to refer to a biological girl who decided over the summer that she wanted to be a boy. Where the hell were her parents? Or the guardians? Great role models, right? Teacher Peter Vlaming agreed to call a student by her new male name, but said his Christian faith prevented him from using male pronouns for a student he knew was a female. Vlaming knew the student from having taught her at the previous year. Vlaming tried to reach a compromise, saying he wouldn't use pronouns when addressing the girl and would instead just call her by her preferred name. School administrators said that using the student's name singled her out and made her feel uncomfortable. Administrators at West Point High School determined this violated the school's non-discrimination and harassment policies, so after a hearing, they recommended he be fired. This even though there are no claims of Vlaming deliberately using female pronouns to refer to the student in her presence. Can we say political correct as its finest? Take a dump, flush it in the toilet, and flush it down. Vlaming persists that he being fired for what he didn't say, i.e. not using certain prescribed words that are opposite of reality. But school employees claim he did use female pronouns, refer to her in the presence of others on occasion. Those school employees are nothing more than Uncle Tom and Aunt Jemima's to the state. They should be proud. I'll continue on here. One such mispronouncing offense occurred during a class activity when the student was using virtual reality headset and was about to run into a wall. Seeing as Vlaming told the student to stop her. So in essence, Vlaming would have been better off if she just let the girl bang into a wall and possibly harm herself. During the testimony at the hearing, school principal Jonathan Hockham said that after the mispronouncing incident, he told Vlaming, "We need to say sorry for that," and referred to her by a male pronoun. Very Orwellian indeed, right? indicating that the principal realizes that the girl is operating in some self-created non-reality and is indeed a female, emphasis mine. Hochman has also implicated himself in the same offense for which Lehman was fired. The school's non-discrimination policy was ostensibly designed to ensure that all students are treated equally. But Lehman was fired because he tried to treat the girl as he did to all other girls. It's the school administrators who were treating the girl differently by granting her special privileges with no basis in reality or science. Talk about dumb-downing the masses. Her conformity 101. Flaming told a local media he loves and respects all of his students, but when a solution he tried to reach base on mutual tolerance was rejected, he was at risk losing his job for having views held by the most for the world for most of human history. That is not tolerance, Blamey said. That is coercion. It's religious discrimination. It's a lot more than that, my friend. I'll say that, in good faith. Blamey is not alone in being discriminated against via non-discrimination policy that's discriminated in favor of transgenders. A Florida physical education teacher was recently punished when he refused to oversee a biologically female middle schooler who claimed to be a male and wanted to dress in the boys' locker room. When he refused to watch while the girls undressed, he was reprimanded, threatened with being put on administrative leave, and told he would be preferred to another school. In an email, school administrators told him refusal to watch the girl undressed in the locker room would not be tolerated. In other words, the teacher was ordered by the school to do something that could get him fired and charged as a sexual criminal if the girl was changed in the girls' locker room rather than the boys. I call that entrapment indeed. The process of moving from a locker room to the girls to a locker room assigned to a boy does not make a girl any less physically and biological a girl regardless of that girl's and the school administrator's altered reality. Talk about alternate universe. The erasing of traditional sexual norms began many years ago, has been unofficial public policy in America for a long time. It's been a gradual, more perceptible process that began when change agents began submitting the word gender, a grammatical term for the word sex, a biological term, as a descriptor for male or female. The effect is to program the mind. It removes a biological component that distinguishes a male from female and inserts an esoteric component that allows for the denial of reality and creation of an alternate reality. When one suffers from anorexia, odds are as a female, looks in the mirror and sees herself as fat. It doesn't matter what reality it is, whether she is normal weight or rail thin. That woman creates an alternate reality in her mind. Anorexia is a mental disorder, one seeking to help that person shrug off this false sense of self would not reinforce that unreality by telling her she is fat. Rather, one would help her seek treatment for it so he could begin to recognize she is not fat and is destroying her health. Likewise, one looks in the mirror and sees himself or herself as opposite of his or her biological sex is creating an alternate reality. No amount of chemical or surgical alteration or treatment will change a biological female to a biological male and vice versa. It's a mental disorder and should not be coddled or reinforced, nor should anyone be forced into accepting that person's alternate reality as reality. But change agents understand that the people will accept almost anything, no matter how immoral or absurd. If it's instituted gradually, first as unofficial public policy and then as official public policy, people accept their conditioning over time, no matter what it is. Even the most absurd of notions come to be accepted over a long enough time frame. Gradualism is the key defining of divinity down. It's interesting about that, my friends. And I met folks I know some folks that had a sex change operation. And I'll never condemn them or crucify them by any means. They're not bad individuals. They have those choices. Sometimes some people say it's distortion. But like I said, I'm not here to condemn. One thing that gets me, they try to make laws for special groups, for certain groups. It is why I support the rights of individuals. And in this community where I live, I got a bunch of folks from all different walks of life, as long as they don't violate others. And I had chats with people in those areas, and they appreciate my rhetoric because it's not crucifying, not hating, not picking on. We have to be proud for who we are. People are in this spell what others think of them. That is a sign of insecurity. It can lead to anxiety, in theory, etc. When I speak like this, it's trying to inspire others. I'm not here to change the world, but inspire every individual to better themselves and be proud for who you are. What is the purpose you have in life on this planet? When you have policies that's double standards, I'm not afraid to call it out. And I've done it multiple times. I know I infuriate others, but it doesn't bother me one bit. I'm not here to please everybody. But when it's the truth, when you speak the truth, it hurts them, that's their problem. But the bottom line is this. Where are the parents? Where are the guardians? What, they worry about doing 2-3 jobs? Have their kids watch the idiot box and play video games and be on a computer all the time? You can't do things together? What's their damn excuse? They want the state to take care of, raise their kids? To me, that's meek and pathetic, and you're not role models to your children. I'm not saying every parent's like that either, please. You got a good amount of them that really give a damn about their children. Teach them the truth, teach them facts, have them critically think. Not be a bunch of drones, numbers, Orwellian's property. This is why you gotta let the school board know. You need us more we need you. Without us, you're nothing. Remember, they're government. They don't know best. Alright. Next thing here came from the same website, Personal Liberty. It actually came from the Ludwig von Mises Institute. What fake history of guns can teach us. Came out yesterday, of course. It came out December 7th to be exact. Interesting. We'll continue on here. From Mises.org. Well, in 2000, Emory University history professor Michael Belisles published a book, Arming America, The Origins of a National Gun Culture. The central argument of the book was that the culture of American gun ownership does not date back to the colonial era and instead emerged in the middle of the 19th century when technological advances made firearms more affordable. Oh, really? Among the academic left, the book was widely popular. Scholars gave glowing reviews of the book, and Columbia University awarded Belisles one of the most coveted prizes in the history profession, the Bancroft. Hence his newfound academic fame were enemies he made, namely the National Rifle Association. Charlton Heston, to glee of anti-gun academics, vocally criticized the book. Belisles revealed in the attention telling Heston that he should earn his PhD before criticizing anybody who has one. How manly. Leftist scholars were thrilled to have an academic book that appeared to thoroughly demolish the notion, so cherished by American gun owners, that the country was founded on a culture of widespread gun ownership. They admitted as much, with the publishers saying it was ecstatic about publishing because the book knocked the gun lobby. But even amidst the ideological bias that plagues academia, there are still many scholars who value honesty and good scholarship more than politically appealing arguments. Even the book was published. Some historians were questioning the data upon which Bezelli's argument was made, which was originally published in 1996 for the Journal of American History. Trying to follow his calculations, nobody has been made to reproduce his results. The data was vague, the calculations of percentage seemed incorrect, and he left out relevant quantitative information based on such a number of cases. As praise turned criticism, more historians began to look into his research. Bezelli's was now on the defensive, not just from people like the NRA, whose enmity only enhanced the academic celebrity, but now from sympathetic academics who have liked nothing more than for his argument to be true. So Bezelli started offering excuses for problems critics kept discovering. He didn't keep a record of this to the archives, so he couldn't point critics to the appropriate sources. The notes he took on illegal yellow legal pads were destroyed in the office flood. When the paperback edition of the book came out in 2001, Bezelli apparently found the flood destroyed data again to add new numbers on the table, only to apparently lose them once more. They just have to trust him. He was unable to replicate his own research. So he believes my defensive rhetoric supersedes prima facie on his face. Finally, Emory University hired a committee to investigate the rise to star, confirming what critics had already said. Investigating scholars were unable to duplicate his data tables. They found a significant evidence of ethical violations, including the outright fabrication of data. This including the citation of data that didn't exist, such as wills that were never actually left behind or probate records that had been destroyed a century before in a fire. Even the records that he didn't use were grossly misrepresented. He was distinguishedly quoted historical figures, including George Washington, that so egregiously took statements out of historical context that nobody was willing to argue as having been unintentional. In short, Bezelli had committed fraud. Columbia University rescinded the Bancroft Prize, the only time that has been done to date. And under mounting criticism, Bezelli resigned his position at Emory University. The lesson about academia from this story are mixed. On the one hand, as many people quickly point out, it is encouraging to note that there are still many legitimate scholars who, even though they may agree with Bezelli's political position, were willing to bring scholarly fraud to light. This is, of course, how academia should operate. However, the initial praise of the book still indicates the problems of academia political biases. It will be one thing if historians simply praise a book whose data and methods were not carefully scrutinized, something that is frankly unavoidable in book reviews, as such levels of scrutiny cannot realistically be conducted by every reviewer for every book. But even after the scandal was exposed, some of the reviewers who praised him indicated that their disappointment in his dishonesty was political. Roger Lane, who gave the book high praise in his review of the Journal of American History, said after the scandal that he betrayed the cause. John Reiner, author of the 2005 book Historian's Trouble, Plagiarism, Fraud, and Politics in the Ivory Tower, acknowledges that Bezelli's book is an example of academic fraud, but he argues that this and other left bias cases of fraud can come about when historians come under attack by right-wing interest groups. With Nancy MacLean's recent book, Democracies in Chains, which is essentially a hatchet job against libertarians, Reiner's roundabout defense of Biselius and other fraudulent scholars effectively provided a ready-made, if laughably partisan, defense of her own scholarly dishonesty. The question then is how the kind of dishonesty is supported by the confirmation bias of left liberal academics. The Biselius case generally does demonstrate that there are honest scholars, as do the pranksters responsible for the grievance study scandal, in which they are publishing hoax papers in order to expose the ability to get intellectually vapid research published by appealing to current political trends. But these academics who are clearly trying to combat the very environment that allow Biselius work to be published in the first place are being treated like pariahs. Biselius is considered as an outlier, an embarrassment to the profession, but potentially less because of his fraud per se, and more because he conducted his dishonesty so blatantly that he couldn't avoid exposure. The academic trends since Arm in America was published give some indication for optimism as the grievance studies. Professors and legitimate critics of Biselius, but they also demonstrate just how far academia has fallen, or alternately, how bad it has always been, in the name of fashionable political agendas. Chris Carlton. Interesting indeed. Well, you have to look at it on all walks of life. Even when you talk about the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So, all this stuff, technology and all that, it's all about freedom, natural born rights. And when you got clowns like him trying to misinterpret history, be very inaccurate, and if people are going to buy it, at least one of them admitted we got slapped in the face. And that's good. We've all been one or the other, folks. That's why I say observe responsibly. I got to point out one thing for sure. It's just amazing how a lot of folks out there still buy these inaccuracies. That's why if you read my speaker page, last sentence I write, always observe responsibly. Go further than what they actually teach you. Never fall for base values, my friend, because the fine print can really be lousy. Okay, one more here. And this one came out from Off the Grid News. It actually came out yesterday, to be exact. And it's very cool. I was very impressed with this. This one's entitled, Study Background Check Did Not Affect Suicide or Homicide Rates. A scientific study in California has reached some unexpected conclusions for gun control advocates. Namely, the state's background checks for gun purchases have had no effect on suicide and homicide rates. Notably, suicide and homicide rates were the same in states and without background checks. A paper in Annals of Epidemiology asserts. Specifically, researchers based the paper on the information from the Violence Prevention Research Program at the University of California, Davis. They also relied on data from Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. Particularly, the study found no net difference between farm-related homicide rates before and during the 10 years after policy implementation. A press release states, consequently, changes in gun control laws have had no effect on suicide and murder rates. Background checks have no effect on suicide rates. Moreover, the researchers write that the findings of the current study disagree with those of studies associating comprehensive background check policies with a reduction in a firearm homicide and suicide in Connecticut. In addition, researchers did not find an increase in firearm homicide and suicide after comprehensive background check repeal in Missouri. As a result, background checks for gun purchases have demonstrated no effect on suicide rates. So a popular claim of gun control is that background checks for firearm purchases can prevent suicide is proven to be untrue. Instead, the new evidence clearly contradicts that assertion. Study claims background checks are not working. In fact, the researchers present information indicating that California's background check requirements are not being enforced. 15 to 20% of California firearm owners told the VPRP that recent gun purchases did not involve extensive background checks. Therefore, 2 of every 10 California gun owners could buy weapons without a background check. Significantly, the researchers think that the lack of enforcement of gun control laws increases suicide and homicide rates. On the other hand, they present no statistics to support that conclusion. However, the study found out requiring a permit to purchase a gun can reduce suicide and homicide rates. For instance, homicide rates fell by 40% and suicide deaths fell by 16% when Missouri and Connecticut requires permits to buy guns, researchers maintain. Researchers admit data on gun control laws is incomplete. And by and large, the researchers admit the data on background checks and gun control laws is inadequate. For example, only 25% of the pre-1990 criminal records in federal database for background checks were accessible. Because of this, could it be impossible to tell a person committed murder or robbery before 1990? Under the set of circumstances, a convicted murderer could pass a background check and buy a gun. As a result, a large number of people likely pass their background checks even in cases where, according to law, they should have been prohibited from purchasing a firearm. Garen Whitemute tells Town Hall. Whitemute is the director of the VPRP and a professor of emergency medicine at UC Davis. Whitemute thinks some mass shooters were able to pass background checks to get guns because of poor record keeping. For this reason, Whitemute admits background checks do not prevent violence. Whitemute also believes that many mentally ill people can buy guns because of incomplete information in databases. In particular, many databases only contains a criminal record. This would mean that a deranged person with no criminal record can still pass a background check. Study finds gun control laws have no impact. In detail, the researchers compare suicide and homicide rates for the 10 years before and after California adopted stricter gun control laws. To clarify further, California's first required background checks in 1991. Additionally, researchers compare suicide and homicide rates in California to 32 other states. They eventually found something surprising when examining these figures. The researchers discovered that Missouri's repeal of law requiring background checks had no effect on suicide and homicide rates. On the positive side, suicide rates in California are 10.9% lower than researchers expected. Nevertheless, suicide rates are in the same places with no background checks, Whitemute acknowledges. On the negative side, the study posts that only strict gun control measures such as confiscation and rigid licensing law will lower suicide and homicide rates. As a consequence, the study could inspire even stricter gun control measures. You may also enjoy reading an additional off the grid news article, Considering Your Guns, 7 Ways to Keep Them Safe and Out of Sight. What are your thoughts on background checks of firearms? Do they deserve any real purpose? Let us know in the comments below. Well, I can tell you this. Nothing more than a bald-faced lie. And people will find a way of hurting others than themselves. And with suicide, how about Big Pharma? You got people in California and other politicians around the country pulling down their pants for them? Doing that bend over bobbing position? I think so. But it proves one thing, my friends. You can make all the laws you want, prohibition and all that. It's the road to nowhere. All you gotta do is look at the 18th Amendment U.S. Constitution. What did it achieve? Nothing. It just got revolts, nullification, and that's why it got repealed in 1933. Think about that. The past is today's greatest teacher, including the war on drugs and, of course, March for Our Lives, another corporate-funded movement, trying to pull that wet dream over our eyes. So, and I did enough of this. I can go on. Always take responsibility for your actions, my friends. I do, at the best of your abilities. And the ones that have these suicide issues and so forth, something I give them love. Help them break that damn spell. It can be done. And don't fall for anything else. That's considered tyrannical. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us on your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, when you say something that's interesting, you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence with decorum. Hit that like button, that thumbs up, download, send your comments. And I know I repeat myself. Forgive me. I will post all my footnotes, social media, and email addresses to my Spreaker page, okay? Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance until the soul can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.